Go.
Okay, so these are my pieces of clay that I rolled out and cut last time. So they are pretty soft. If you try to bend yours and they don't want to bend easily, don't force them because it'll break in half. Do what Max is doing here and lay wet paper or wet cloth on top for a few minutes so that they will soften back up. So I'm going to start just bending this just a little bit at a time. And what I'm trying to do is get this into a cylinder. All right, I'm not trying to be aggressive with the clay. Okay, so I know it's going to fit together. I'm not going to start putting it together. I'm actually going to reopen this back up and do my designs. There's a lot of textury things that I have in the cupboard right back there. Perfect. And if you want to use those, you can. If your clay is sticky, then the textury thing might stick into the clay. So you can take a little bit of cornstarch and sprinkle that onto your clay. And if you are adding onto your clay, you don't need any cornstarch. And if you are carving into your clay, you also don't need any cornstarch. You only need the cornstarch if you are pressing objects into your clay that you want to take out. So the pasta letters, those don't need to be taken out, so you don't need cornstarch if you're using the pasta letters. Okay, so I have some cornstarch here. That is going to keep my pattern from sticking into the clay. And I'm going to kind of do this like a little bit of a random design. And I'm just feeling my pattern. One side is indented and one side is sticking out, so I want the sticking out side to be down here. And I'm going to use one of these little baby rolling pins to press. So part of my mug is going to have this texture and part of it is not. Okay, and then it's a little hard to see, but I can definitely feel it there. Okay, so now that's a little easier to see on that side right there. Now I can see I have my texture, so now I can go ahead and get this back into my cylinder shape, kind of gently. Okay, and now for this one, I'm going to do this so you don't see the place where the two sides come together. So I'm going to cut this side here on a bit of an angle. If you want to see the place where the two sides come together, they're going to be overlapped on your mug. That is fine with me. You can do it that way. Okay, and this, so that's cut on an angle. Now I'm going to cut this one also on an angle. Okay, and then when I push these together a little bit, you can see how that's going to be kind of like a mitered joint. So that will be helpful. Okay, now I'm going to use my slip. And I made some pretty smooth slip. So I'm going to put a little slip on here before I score it. That's a special Chatterson trick because then the slip goes into your scoring marks a little bit more. Feels sort of like pudding. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and score this with my scoring rib. And then I'm going to put another layer of slip. The more dry your clay feels, the more scoring and slipping will be needed. Okay, now I can go ahead and start compressing this together. And a little bit of slip is kind of oozing out, that's okay. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and just start pushing those two pieces of clay together with my thumb and my fingers. And I'm also going to do that, can you see on the inside there? I'm going to use a pretty good amount of slip on the inside to start blending that together. And what I want with this is I want to not see any kind of seam anymore. Okay, and then just like in the video that we watched the first day, I want to start compressing this. And as I'm thinking about this, this may be a good place, this area where these two pieces come together, this may be a good place to put my handle when I decide and when I'm ready to attach the handle. So compressing that helps a lot as far as getting that seam to disappear. And this is the part, this combining the pieces, this is the part of the project where your inner perfectionist should come out. So every ounce of perfectionism in you should be used for this part of the project to get it to stay together, because you don't want your coffee to drip on the floor when you really need your coffee. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to see how this aligns with the base that I have. And I got pretty lucky on this because it actually fits really well. If your base is a little too large, then you can trim it down a little bit. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and score and slip. Again, I'm going to put my slip on first before I score. Okay, and then I'm going to also do, this is going to be the bottom, so I'm also going to score and slip that. And I'm going to put a little bit more slip on here so that when I push these two pieces together, there's plenty of slip to hold them in place. Okay. And I'm just kind of looking here on the inside so I can get it lined up as much as possible. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this over, and so that way I can see where I need to slightly adjust to get this to fit. And then I'm going to start just blending here on the outside. And this is a little uneven here at the bottom. I'm noticing that right now. So later on, when I get these pieces secured, I can actually trim this a little bit so it'll line up and it will look more professional and more deliberate, where I have these two pieces coming together by sponge. So I'm paying attention to this outside because that's going to be a part that people see really easily. And the outside is important for aesthetics. The inside is the most important part for like actually being functional. Okay. Now here on the inside, I can actually get my hand in there, but if you have a bigger hand, it's hard to get down in there. You can use a paintbrush to get in there, but I'm going to use my hand because I know that'll make a better seal on the bottom here. So I'm using mostly my middle finger because that's the longest one, but I'm not going to show that to the class because that would be rude. Okay, now on the inside it looks a little gross, so I can clean that up with my sponge. It's getting there. Okay, see in there? Thank you, that's good. Okay, and now I want to think about this rim a little bit because that would be very thick and uncomfortable to drink out of. So I'm going to get my fingers wet and start smoothing out this rim a little bit. As I'm doing that, I can also think about, a lot of times cups kind of flare out a little bit at the top because people's lips are a little bit plump, and so I can also take my fingers as I'm smoothing this rim and I can bring my cup out a little bit at the top for someone when they're drinking out of this. Okay, I think that's it. Okay. Thank you so much.